Does Oregon threaten Michigan and Ohio State? Can the Ducks win the Big Ten in year one? Can they go on the road and beat Michigan? Can they face Ohio State, the far and away favorite to win the Big Ten in terms of preseason votes, in terms of preseason picks? And even though they're close in odds, Ohio State is still ahead by a decent margin. Let's put it that way. Is Oregon a threat to these teams? Well, I think the answer is yes. But let's play devil's advocate a little bit. This will be fun. What about Oregon's adjustment from a strength of schedule last year that was outside of the top 50? Or if you look at sportsreference.com instead of ESPN, it's outside of the top 40. How does that go when you transition to one of the best conferences in the country and you're playing Ohio State and Michigan, which automatically makes your strength of schedule much stronger than just 50th or 51st or 52nd, 54th, 55th, etc. Ohio State and Michigan are viewed as preseason top 10 teams. Many view Ohio State as the preseason number 1 team. So how does this go? How will that work? And there's a chance that Oregon just enters the Big Ten and Ohio State is the physically tougher team. There's a chance that Oregon's physicality, and if you're an Oregon fan, just pause, because this is devil's advocate. We'll get to the positives, which I am more inclined to believe in. There's a chance that Ohio State plays Oregon, and Ohio State just physically kills them, mauls them, just tears them apart. Instead of the Buckeye being cracked by the Nutcracker, the Buckeye uses the Nutcracker to crack and shave the duck and then eat it. It's a pretty weird image of a Buckeye with, like, teeth. Like a Buckeye that kind of looks like Pac-Man just consuming a duck and killing it. There's a chance that that happens. There's a chance that that also happens on the road against Michigan, where the Wolverine tears open the duck and consumes its carcass. There's also a chance that Wisconsin and Luke Fickell, who are the Badgers, so I won't be making another animal on animal violence analogy, that the Badgers, with a strong offensive line, with a defense that's commanded by one of the best in the country in Mike Tressel, that they could do damage. I mean, don't kid yourself. Oregon can go 10-2, 9-3. And 9-3 is really what I'm talking about here in terms of the devil's advocate. Because I think 10-2 Oregon losing close games to whatever combination, more likely whether it's Ohio State, Michigan, or Ohio State, Wisconsin, or Michigan, Wisconsin, they're still beating one good Big Ten team, because Wisconsin is going to be good. If they beat Michigan or Ohio State, it's one of the Big Ten's elite or near elite teams. And if they go 10-2 and lose to the Big Two, Michigan and Ohio State, on their schedule, but they compete with them and they don't get out physicaled by them, and it's just a good game that they end up losing, well, then they're Big Ten ready. They are. I can't really think of any other devil's advocate position outside of them coming in and being out physicaled, because they've built their wide receiver room to being one of the most productive and best in the nation. Dylan Gabriel's a proven quarterback, top 5 in QBR last year. On average, he's improved every year in his collegiate football career when healthy. I know he was injured at UCF and out for much of the season in 2021. He's a great QB. Will Stein's a proven offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And there are many other components, along with Jeffrey Bassa and Justin Jacobs at linebacker, the talent they have at defensive line, and also secondary, to where even if they are out physicaled in the Big Ten, their defense will still be good at minimum. Their offense will be near elite at minimum. So when your worst case scenario, if you're a Duck fan or if you're any team, is you're just not ready for a new conference that's way better than your old one, but you have the tools to be ready and you're close to being ready, that's a damn good position to be in. And I think Oregon is ready. I don't think that the devil's advocate position that I just gave you, while it's valid, and while to a certain degree I do think that Oregon last year may have been puffed up from their strength of schedule, overall I think the 2023 Oregon Ducks, if they made it to the college football playoff, they could have won the whole thing. In fact, after they lost to Washington, I had them ranked ahead of Washington after a few weeks because I'm thinking to myself, this team is too dominant to where whoever runs in back and getting pressure. So I look at Oregon, and they're absolutely a threat. And they're a threat because of players like Dylan Gabriel, because of Jordan James, Terrence Ferguson. Their tackles are Johnny Cornelius and Josh Connerly Jr., who I think are all-American level offensive tackles. Matthew Bedford, Marcus Harper II, Iapani Lalolu, the interior of the offensive line, Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart, Trayshawn Holden, Gary Bryant Jr., Jurion Dickey, Kyler Casper, their wide receivers, bringing in Derek Harmon and Jamari Caldwell on top of Keon War Hudson to make a defensive tackle core that has more than just two players who can play Big Ten ball. Jordan Birch coming back, Mateo Uiagalelei being in year 2 and maturing and getting that additional training in strength and conditioning. And then Justin Jacobs, Jeffrey Bassa, Marion Winston in the linebacker room, Cam Alexander, Kobe Savage, Jabbar Muhammad, Brandon Johnson, incoming transfers in the secondary, and Tysheem Johnson, a former incoming transfer, but he's in, I forget if it's his second, I think it's his second year with the team. It could be his third, but I think it's the second year with the team. You look at Oregon, and really only the secondary is an area where if I'm a Duck fan, I'm a little nervous. But even then, Tysheem Johnson was good last year, and Jalil Florence is in the room. He's talented. Dante Manning and Nico Reed were good players. And Jabbar Muhammad is one of the best cornerbacks in the country. So the secondary, it's just a concern of really, can they hold down Ohio State's wide receivers? That's about it. They can probably hold down Michigan's, Wisconsin's, anyone else is on their schedule. And it's also a concern of how will they do in the college football playoff. How deep are they? Can they sustain some injuries? We'll have to see. But Oregon is absolutely a threat. And this almost grits my teeth because I don't want a new team, especially a team from out west, to win the Big Ten in year 1. But I can objectively say they can. They can do it. And if they do it, it won't surprise me. Looking at my predictions and giving my thoughts on Oregon, I do have them, full disclosure, I have them going 10-2, losing to Ohio State and Michigan. I think Ohio State matches up well with Oregon. Ohio State's secondary is much better than Oregon's. Their wide receiver rooms are about equal. So the skill position talent versus the defensive backfield, that's a huge advantage for Ohio State. And Dylan Gabriel and Will Howard have about the same scrambling ability. Dylan Gabriel's a much better passer. They also have the tight end advantage. But Ohio State has, I think, a running back advantage, not just in running, but pass catching. And more importantly, they have the much better defensive line, again, much better secondary. And I'd say even they have the better linebackers. Jeffrey Bassa is good. Justin Jacobs is good. Cody Simon, I think, is good. But the talent that C.J. Hicks and Sonny Styles have could make Ohio State's linebacker room elite. I will have to see whether Oregon's linebacker room can be elite. And when I say elite, I mean like top 5 in a year where you are strong at a certain position nationally, top 10 at the very least. Like defensive tackle last year. Notre Dame, Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, and others had all NFL-level defensive tackle rooms. Like, I'm talking 2 starters or more that were high-level defensive tackles. You could also put, like, Clemson up there, Florida State. That's 5 even more schools that elite defensive tackle rooms. That's an example of when I'm using elite, and maybe it sounds like I'm using it too much, but it's just because I think that in college football, there's going to be a lot of depth at this position, or there's going to be a lot of depth at the top of college football, like there was last year. Oregon was, I think, 8th in the final college football playoff rankings. There were 8 teams, I'm even counting Florida State, like hypothetically if they were healthy, that could have won it all last year, and that were anywhere from near elite to elite in college football if they were healthy. which is a big if because injuries happen. But yes, to circle back, Oregon is a threat. They can beat Michigan. They can beat Ohio State. They can capture the Big Ten. And that's about it. I mean, if Dan Lanning does that in year one, he solidifies my opinion of him that he's a top 10 head coach. And I think that Oregon will win the Big Ten under Dan Lanning at some point, and they will win a national championship. The reason I don't have it happening this year is I think Dylan Gabriel's a downgrade from Bo Nix. I think the interior of the offensive line will suffer a little bit from the loss of Jackson Powers Johnson and others. The wide receiver room with Evan Stewart transferring in will reload. And with the defense, it's just the secondary will probably be the same as last year, more likely a little worse. And with the front on defense, Derek Harmon and Jamari Caldwell are good. Same with Jordan Birch. They're not Ohio State's D-line or Michigan's defensive line. Thank you for watching this cut of Touchdown Talk. Remember to like the video to help this channel get into the algorithm and grow as we approach the 2024 season. And also subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you can participate in our giveaway at 20,000 subscribers. Help us to grow, join this awesome community, and also be notified when we release new content here on College Football with Sam. I would like to thank my Patreon members for sponsoring this video and channel. A shout out to Crash2488 and Brasco Rascal for being $25 a month Heisman members. A shout out to $10 a month American members, all American members, Chris Lane, Connor Little OH, and Ismar. And a shout out to $5 all conference members, John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, and Janisha Cockrell. Have a great day, guys, and we will see you soon. Bye.